जाने बेखता पर दो जहां का बार है और गूंज गूंजो थे हैं नग़मा तेरे रज़ा से बोसता गूंज गूंजो थे हैं नग़मा तेरे रज़ा से बोसता गूंज गूंजो थे हैं नग़मा तेरे रज़ा से बोसता गूंज गूंजो थे हैं नग़मा तेरे रज़ा से बोसता क्यों ना हो किस फूल की मिदहत में वामिल कार है क्यों ना हो किस फूल की मिदहत में वामिल कार है मुजदाबाद आसियों शाफे शहे अबरार है तहनीयत मुजरिमों ज़ाते खुदा गफ़ार है
Subhanallah, Subhanallah, MashaAllah Azza wa Jalla. My dear Islam brothers and viewers of Madani Channel, in our lives there are many things that we take for granted, and in taking them for granted we end up abusing them things. For example, if we look at electricity, in this country in particular, we think that we've got an unlimited supply of electricity and we have no care for where this electricity comes from. We have no care whether this electricity will ever finish or not. And as a result of that, because we don't care, we don't think about the fact that this electricity could finish one day, we waste a lot of electricity as well. In the same way, if we look at water in this country in particular, where we're fortunate that we have pure water, clean water, we have no concern of where the waters come from. We have no concern of the fact that maybe the water may run out. We have no concern that there could be a water shortage. We have no concern of anything like this. And as a result of that, we waste water as well. Today, we're not going to talk about water. We're not going to talk about electricity, thankfully. What we are going to talk about, we're going to talk about something else that we, in the same way, take for granted, in the same way we waste, in the same way that we think it's never going to finish, and in the same way we abuse it and we waste it. And that's our time. We think of time as something that we've got an unlimited supply of. We think of time as something that we have no concern that it's ever going to end. And as a result of that, we waste our time as well. And so we have the brothers that are here that are going to give us some Madani pearls with regarding to the best use of our time and how to utilize our time. And at the same time, we're going to talk, we all have in our lives, some things happen in our life that are a turning point. A certain time came in our life where something happened, and as a result of that turning point, we are where we are today. Each person, everybody that's watching this program now, be it a financial aspect, be it a spiritual aspect, be it an emotional aspect, a certain point in your life came where as a result of that point, there is a result of that decision that you made then, you are either possibly financially secure or you're not financially secure, or you're spiritually strong or you're not spiritually strong. And a turning point came in your life which effectively determined where you are today. And if we look at, for example, people that are unfortunate, that they've gone onto the wrong path, that they are unfortunate, maybe the drug dealers or the criminals of this world, they can each reflect back to a certain point in their lives where they were influenced by peer pressure, they were influenced by something, and something happened at that moment in time that caused them to make a decision to go onto this so-called path and end up where we are today. So alhamdulillah, we have our blessed Madanis with us again. We are blessed with their presence, that they can give us their Madani pearls, and we have, mashallah, two of our senior Mubaliks within the UK here as well. They're also going to bless us with their Madani pearls as well. With regards to time, how we should utilize time, and also I want to request all of the brothers that are here, all the 4 brothers that are here, if they can tell us something about their lives, something about a turning point in their life that maybe is the result of that turning point we're sitting in this studio here today. Azura, I'm going to start with our Madani, mashallah.
العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ما شاء الله Khalifa, you began brilliantly, you know, the things you said, it just brought more and more things to my head which I would like to say. So what are we beginning on? A turning point in my life?
You are the Madani here, we follow
time in general?
We follow the Madanis. Hum Madani ke piche piche.
SubhanAllah. I'll begin with time, talk about time in general, because you mentioned two incredible points. One about how we take things for granted. Now, it has been said about time, firstly, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, "Ni'matani maghbunun fihima kathirun min an-nas." That there are two benefits, two ni'mas, through which or due to which many people, kathiram min an-nas, so many people are deluded. They become lost due to these two things, these two benefits. One is as-siha and the second is al-firagha. Sihat meaning good health. And the second, firagha, free time. People are deluded, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says. Why? Because we think we have free time.
Yeah.
Do not talk about taking things for granted. We think we have free time. Now there's something mentioned about time which I'd like to mention. Time is free, but it's priceless. Time is free, but it's priceless. You can't own it, but you can use it. Time you cannot own it, but you can use it. You can't keep it, but you can spend it.
Allahu Akbar.
And once it's lost, you can never gain it back. Talking about taking things for granted. Time is free. Yes, it's totally free. Everyone has it. تِلْكَ الْأَيَّامُ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in the glorious Qur'an that each and every individual is given time. Everybody is given time. We all have been given time. And it's equal. It has been distributed between people. It is equal for all of us. If we are to consider, we all have 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
We all have 24 hours in a day. How much minutes or seconds this works out to? So much more. But it's equal for me and you. I have 24 hours. You too have 24 hours. But as to how we spend it, are we going to spend it impulsively without thinking? Look, we can imagine it. In fact, there's another hadith of the Prophet ﷺ which states that كُلُّ نَفْسٍ بَائِعٌ نَفْسَهُ, that each and every individual, when he wakes up, when he awakes in the morning, he is selling himself. He is selling himself. And then it is up to him as to whether he's going to do good, مُوبِقُهَا مُوبِقُ نَفْسِهِ, either whether he's going to free himself or whether he's going to imprison himself. Meaning, is he going to free himself by committing good? Now, the Rasulullah has made this, it is considered to be a business.
Yeah.
It is a business. We have the person who is a business. We have time itself, which is the commodity, the asset. Now, if you had a business, if you were to be given approximately, I don't know how many minutes it works out to, how many seconds, 24 hours, maybe one of you can work it out. Sorry?
Is it 720 minutes? No, it's not, is it? That's 12
We all
hours,
have calculators here, mashallah.
12 hours is 1440 minutes.
1400, mashallah, good maths. And how many seconds did Khalid die?
Don't push it.
So having
Yes.
1420 minutes, mashallah.
1440.
1440 minutes.
Okay.
If you were to have 1440 pounds being placed in our account, 1440 pounds in our account, each and every day, at the end of the day, that 1440 pounds was to be taken back, and you were to be given another 1440 pounds. Now, Shiraz Bhaiya, what would you do with that 1414 pounds, knowing that at 12 o'clock you will not have that with you no more?
Allahu Akbar.
At 12 o'clock you will not have that with you no more. The next day, that's going to go again, it resets to 1440 pounds. What would we do? We would make the most of it.
Allah.
Similarly, my dear respected audience, we have 1414 minutes placed, deposited in the bank of our life.
Allah.
Meaning in our each and every single day of our life. Now, if you were to consider that 1440 minutes at 12 o'clock, you can say, for example, that's going to leave. The next day, another 1440. If it was money, you would not waste it. So when it's time, why do we waste it?
I think the other thing as well is using the same analogy that you've given to us, which is beautiful, is that we also don't know whether the bank's going to be open tomorrow or not.
Allah, Allah. Subhanallah.
The bank could close tomorrow permanently, and this might be the last time we get the opportunity to get money from the bank. It might be our last opportunity to have that £1,440, and we might never get that opportunity again. Which made me realize that, that how important our time is. And I think it's beautiful what you've given, an example. And I think that really hits home. Unfortunately, what I've seen, Zur, is that our mentality is such that when we talk about money, we understand it.
Yeah.
You talk about money, you explain anything in monetary terms, and we understand it. But when it comes to the akhirat, when it comes to sawa, when it comes to sins, when it comes to blessings, and when it comes to the accountability of that, and when it comes to the judgment day, and the banking...
Every single Muslim should ask that question to himself. The thing is, we need to first fundamentally ask, what is our purpose of life? When we understand our purpose of life, we will go about our ways according to that purpose.
Yeah.
So we ask the Qur'an, what does the Qur'an say? What is the purpose of our creation? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Dhariyat, in para 27, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I have not created jinns and humans except that they worship me. This is the only reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us, that we worship Him. So as a Muslim, or any wise Muslim, will know that if his time is in such a way where it is negligent and heedless from the remembrance of Allah, right, that person is not utilizing his time properly. The ulama, our pious predecessors, they would say that any moment which was negligent from the remembrance of Allah, they would consider that time wasting. And the Holy Qur'an says, time is passing by, right? Life's too short, right? We hear day in, day out, someone's passed away at this age, at the age of 20, 30, 40, 50, different ages. Youngsters, elders, they're all passing away. Time is short, everybody's destiny has been written for them, right? These are our breaths that are taken by the second, in the blink of an eye, the ticking,
repeated.
right? And this is a counting. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually makes reference of this in the Qur'an. He says, إِنَّمَا نَعُدُّ لَهُمْ عَدًّا. That indeed we are completing the counting. We are completing the counting. And Hujjatul Islam Imam Ghazali rahimahullah, he explains this, and he says that by here the counting, what does he mean? It means that the counting here means the breaths that we are taking. So a person who has consideration of that time, he needs to know, he needs to reflect and ponder and think, my time is ticking. What am I doing? Like you mentioned just right now, people, right, when it comes about money and etc., right, they straight away think about, this, I need to care about this, I need to care about this, but they don't give a second thought when it comes about the akhir, right? And a person, when people are going to go into paradise, now once you're into paradise, like we'll say in slang, you're buzzing, right? You've got all the luxuries, all the bounties, all the ni'mas of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? In Jannah, right? But there'll be still one thing that a person will have regret about, right? In Jannah. That is that moment in the dunya which he spent negligent and heedless from the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now we have to ask ourselves, how are we spending our time? Most of our time is being spent in things that are not necessary. Or, most importantly, we should say that will never ever benefit us in the akhirah. And as a wise person, as a Muslim, we should consider that our time is spent as much as possible in an Islamic way. Remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remembering the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Learning about our deen. We understand that we will organize our time around that purpose. If we don't understand our purpose in the first place, right?
So it's getting the right balance of time.
Definitely.
To right way of the balance.
And understanding the purpose of life as well.
Okay. I remember
Objective.
Sorry. Go on, Medina.
You asked a question as to why is it that we waste time. MashaAllah, Hafiz Sahab has answered brilliantly. I've thought of two reasons, one which MashaAllah is tackled. One, objective. You need an objective. Whatever it is, whatever the matter. If you have an objective, you aim towards the objective, you strive towards it.
A purpose in life.
The second is, yes, a purpose in life. The second is, important point is mentioned. It has been stated in the Qur'an that when the people when they pass away, they shall say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, رَبِّ ارْجِعُونِ, that, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, send us back to the world. Oh Allah, send us back to the world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shall say, أَوَلَمْ نُعَمِّرْكُمْ, did we not give you time? Did we not give you a lifetime to spend? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shall ask the people, قَالَ كَمْ لَبِثْتُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ عَدَدَ سِنِّينَ. That, O people, how much time did you spend in the world, عَدَدَ سِنِّينَ, in terms of years? How many, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked them, how many years did you spend in the world? Do you know what reply they'll give? قَالُوا لَبِثْنَا يَوْمًا أَوْ بَعْدَ يَوْمٍ. They will say, we spent a day in the world. Or part of a day. Not even a day. Part of a day. And then they are so sure about themselves. They're so certain that we've only spent a day in the world that they say, فَاسْأَلِ الْعَادِينَ. That, oh Allah, if you don't believe us, ask the angels. We've only spent a day part of a day in the world. That's it. No more than a day. Ask the angels. This is how certain they are. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shall reply, إِن لَبِثْتُمْ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. That it is true that you have only spent a little bit amount of time. That you have only spent a little amount of time, this is true, a day or part of a day. So this, whatever this life is, an approximate average of 78 years. I don't even think this is average anymore. I've read it recently, but I don't think it's average anymore. This all equates to what? One day or even part of a day.
I think we need to also emphasize that it's the average as well.
Yes, average. It doesn't, yeah.
It's not a certainty in that thing.
You know, there's so many people that die at a young age. Now, from 78 years, we have people, obviously, who spend their life in, different ways, doing different things. It has been stated, if a man lives up to, or, anybody lives up to the age of 78 years, that is if you live that long. Subhanallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us a long life to do the work of deen, inshallah. 28.3 years are spent approximately sleeping. That's about 30%. 30%, 28 years approximately spent sleeping. 10.5 years spent working.
Just to stop you there, that the 28 years, that's assuming that you worked it on 8 hours a day
approximately
sleep.
8 hours.
What about those people that are watching now and say, well, I sleep 10 hours a day,
10
11
hours,
hours
12
a day.
hours. This is
This percentage goes up a lot more, doesn't it, for them?
It does, no doubt.
Day, that's half of your life.
Yeah.
Subhanallah, half a life, yes. MashaAllah, the Tawfiq Bhai has brilliantly worked that out.
It's always a good idea to work on the easy questions.
I'll give you some homework afterwards. We'll get the seconds. Go on, Medina. G.
So 10.5 years working, and most individuals, over 50%, people ask to whether they enjoy their work. More than 50% of people wish to change their jobs. Over 50% are not satisfied with their source or method of income. 9 years are spent on TV or social media.
Ya Allah.
9 years on TV or social media. 6 years doing the daily shows. 4 years eating and drinking. 4 years eating and drinking. 3.5 years education. 2.5 years cleansing oneself, etc. 2.5 years shopping. 1.5 year in childcare. 1.3 years commuting, moving back and forth from one place to another. Now, all of these years, my dear Islamic brothers, really just, this is some of us to actually ponder over, to contemplate over. If we were to, imagine we were to just cut out social media, we would have 9 more years. Just imagine that. Just cutting out one thing, cut out social media, you get 9 more years.
You're talking about cutting out, if you don't mind, because as the scholar speaking, I thought, let them speak. It's beautiful, alhamdulillah, the production of Jamiatul Medina, and now blessing us with Madari flowers. The question is, okay, where does that respect, where does that value of time come in? For the average man, it's okay, alhamdulillah, the brothers that are in the Madari Mahal talking about this. For the viewer that's watching, he might be thinking, okay, but I'm still going to do my thing.
Yeah, I'm happy with what I'm doing.
The solution is, or the answer is, the lack of fear of Allah. Once we understand what is in the hereafter for us, that's when we start realizing, okay, you know what? I need to take a step back. Any one of us, you said the turning point in our lives as well. How did it come? We come to the ijtama, some brother made effort, invited us. When we go and hear those things that we've never heard before, and we hear about hellfire, and we hear about the punishments of the grave, that starts ticking in your mind. You know what? Enough is enough. I need to make a change. I've wasted, we've literally spoke to many brothers who, I've wasted 20 years of my life. I wish I had got Dawat Islami earlier. Or I've wasted 30 years of my life. I wish I had got Dawat Islami earlier. So what the point is, we need to hear more waqiyats about the hereafter. Either the beauties of Jannat, either the beauties of what's going to happen to us, or either the punishments of hellfire. I mean, I've got one waqiyah here ready if you want me to brief and read it out. But honestly, when I first read this, it was in the Neki Ki Dawat of Amir al-Sunnat, the Urdu version, page 339 of that, but I've got it in English, I'll read in English. So, yeah, okay. Amirul Mu'mineen, Sayyidina Umar bin Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala were sitting with Sayyidina Qabul Akhbar radiyallahu ta'ala, and he said, tell me something about fear. This is Sahabi Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ashra Mubashara Sahabi, guaranteed Jannati. And look at their tabiyat. They're asking to know about fear. Allahu Akbar. They say, then Hazrat Qabul Akhbar radiyallahu ta'ala say, Ya Amirul Mu'mineen, if you come on the day of Mahshar with the actions of 70 prophets, when you will see the hardships of that day, you will still think that your actions are not enough. This is how severe it's going to be. Then, Allahu Akbar, they bowed their head and they started crying. And they said, Kaab, tell me more. They said, Ya Amirul Mu'mineen, if hellfire as much as the size of a hole, the size of the hole of the nose of a bull, was to be opened in the east of the world, then the brains of the people in the west of the world would boil and burst. Then they bowed down their head again and cried. And when they stopped, they said, Kaab, oh Kaab, tell me more. They said, Ya Amirul Mu'mineen, hell will shake in such a thunderous manner that every angel, prophet and person will be on their knees saying, Nafsi, Nafsi. Then said, on the day of Qiyamah, then they said, every person from the start to finish will be gathered. Rows will be made. Allah Azza wa Jal will command Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam to go and bring hellfire. They will bring hell with 70,000 lagams. Each lagam will have 70,000 angels pulling it. And it will be 100 years distance away from the people that are standing in the rows. Allahu Akbar, 100 years of distance. It will shake so severely that the people's hearts will drop. Then it will shake again and the people and the angels will be on their knees. And it will shake and people's hearts will from there come up to their necks. This will be the kafiyat from 100 years distance. Or in this hellfire, if we have to step in for a moment, for a second, where will we go? Allahu Akbar. May Allah save us from this.
But again, it comes back to what Hafiz was saying. It's not, it's just, we're blinkered with regard to it because we've not fulfilled the purpose. We don't understand the purpose. We don't realize that that is the purpose. If we understood the purpose, and we had a purpose in life, you know, we have a purpose in every aspect in our life. We plan and we have a purpose. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get married when I'm 22. I'm going to have a house when I'm 26. I'm going to have a business. And But when it comes to the deen and the akhirat, we don't realize and we don't understand the purpose of it. And because we don't understand the purpose, we don't plan.
One of the reasons why we don't understand the purpose, why we don't value the minutes and the seconds, the way Brother Shabazz mentioned earlier, is because we become very short-sighted. We don't think ahead. We just look at our physical life of this dunya.
I think we think ahead a lot. I think we think ahead to the extent that we don't think we're going to die. We plan for, 200 years that I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this.
As Muslims or as humans, we do know that we will die. We see deaths in our daily lives. We see young deaths, we see elders as well. And it does give us a bit of push here in the heart, makes us pause for us sometimes. But as soon as we move away from that funeral, we're back to old. And that's because we don't actually have that inside feeling about the akhirat. We don't have that, we don't actually plan for it. We don't aim for it.
If I ask the brothers here, which thing is it that will cut our time off? And it will put an end to all of this. It's death. Death. Like they say in the hadith, death is the thing that ends all pleasures. Our time, I've got time, you've got time, we're breathing, like the counting we mentioned earlier on. What is the thing that will put an end to this? Death. Right? Like Shiraz said, and like I mentioned before, and Tawfiq Bhai can elaborate on it as well, we don't hear enough about this. Because we don't hear enough about these things, because this is not in our purpose. If it was in our purpose, if you ask those people who have made this their purpose, they will be wasting their time. Why? Because their life is based around this. They know this is temporary, and the akhirat is eternal. And the Prophet ﷺ himself told us how to live in the dunya. Right? He said first, ad-dunya sijnul mu'min. The dunya is the prison for a believer, wa jannatul kafir. And it's the paradise of a disbeliever. And in another narration, the Prophet ﷺ told us how to live in this dunya, this world. Live as a traveler would live. Why? Because this is not our eternal place to stay. Right? So those people who have understood this importance, that look, death is going to come. I am 25, I'm 26, I'm 27, but I know death could come to me. I hear about these things. Like Shalva was saying, waqiyat, we hear these waqiyat. All of us here, you meet people today, right? You ask them, what changed your mind? You know, before you used to be a criminal, before you used to be a drug addict, you used to be a drug dealer, you used to be a youngster on the streets, people used to be sick and tired of you, right? Communities did not like you, right? What changed? They said, you know what, I wasted my time in this, but I heard a bayan about death. Or one of my friends, he passed away in a car crash, right? And like we talked about turning points, he'll say, you know what, that was the turning point in my life. Or he'll say, you know, I had a near-death experience. I was in a car, we were speeding, etc., right? And we had some drugs, etc., we consumed some drugs, we were intoxicated, and all of a sudden we had a crash, a near-death experience, and you know what, Allah saved me, and that opened my eyes. He'll say, I've seen death, and I've come back from that. That's how they say it, you know, I've been there, and I've come out, and he said, this is my turning point. That's his turning point. Why? Because now he has experienced that, he's learned about, you know what, there is something that is coming. And the thing is, you know, everybody watching at home might be thinking, you know what, brother, we know there's death, right? We know there's death. But then it comes again back to negligence. It comes back to heedlessness, that we don't make our purpose in life correct. If we know about death, why are we wasting our time then? If we know that there's akhirat for us, right? If we know that we have to live in this dunya as a traveler, then why are we wasting our time?
But I've said that, them people, these examples that you give me of when they, and we've all met them people that they've had these near-death experiences, they've had a close friend pass away. Why do we have to wait for that? Do we all have to wait for that near-death experience? Do we all have to wait for someone close to us passing away? Do we all have to wait for that moment in time where that happens? Why do we have to wait for something so severe to happen that maybe we might not see the next day of it? Maybe we might not see a near-death experience. Maybe we might be part of that experience. Maybe we might be the one that passes away. Why do we have to wait for that?
The answer simply to that is we shouldn't wait. It's simple.
But we are waiting, aren't we?
But we should not wait. That's our mistake for doing it, because like you said, we do not know whether we will get a chance or not. Right? Do you understand? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changed people's lives at different times. One example is people going to Hajj, right? They've had a different life, a different past, right? Okay, some of us could relate to this, right? And they're waiting for that turning point when I go to Hajj. Now they're waiting. They know they're missing the namaz, but when I go to Hajj, I'm going to keep my basement, right? Yeah? When we go to Hajj, we're going to start reading our namaz. This waiting is wrong. Yeah. We understand, right? But it's when they are blessed with this. At that moment, they should be doing this well before. But again, it's about who is your company as well. If you got bad company, how are you going to realize about death? How are you going to get told about death? Etc., etc.
Khalid bhai, here we're talking about turning point in life. And there may be any viewers here watching this program and thinking, I'm sick of my life. You know, my social lifestyle is all over the place. My family members, my parents, my neighbors, everyone's sick of me, the way I live my life. In fact, I'm sick of myself, and I want to change. I want to change. I want that turning point of my life as well.
Yeah.
But, you know, when am I going to have this? And what I've felt, you know, I've looked at certain brothers, you know, they've gone really far in sins, in the apparent side. But when I look deep down, they want that change.
Yeah.
In their heart, they want to change. They want to improve their way of life.
Just waiting for somebody, they feel insecure, they feel alone, they feel troubled, they're just waiting for that one person that'll phone them up, that'll go and meet them and go and give them some time. Yeah? Yep. By giving someone time, by utilizing your valuable time, you can change somebody else's time.
Khalid, once, as part of the work of Dawud Islami, alhamdulillah, I had the opportunity to visit a prison. In fact, to deliver a speech on the topic of Miraj. We had a gathering, and in front of me, there were obviously prisoners. You know, people there, you know, they've got different sentences, yeah, and all sorts of criminals. And for me, it was different experience.
They've got time.
Yeah, they have time, but for me, what it was, I was sitting here, and as a normal routine, when you stand up and there's audience in front of you, you're speaking. But when I look up, I felt they're not people, they're prisoners. It was that weird feeling. But one thing in that little trip that I had in that prison was, after that little session, I sat on one of the waiting rooms, and there was a magazine there, and something caught my eye. And there was one particular phrase. It was, one moment can change your life.
Yeah.
I was trying to understand it from their angle. These individuals, if they've gone all out, 5, 6, 10 years, 20 years, they've been dealing with drugs, taking drugs, robbing and all sorts of sins, the crimes they've committed, and they got away with it. Since secondary school, they got away with it. The 30, 40, 50-year-olds, whatever crimes they've been doing, they've been getting away with it. But there was one day they got caught. That just changed that moment. That changed their whole life. The way they had life before, it just totally changed. And on the other side, I'm going to give you my own personal experience. As Khalid I mentioned earlier, please share your own personal experience. Something that happened to me, I don't know, 15, 20 years now, not 20 years, but at least 15 odd years. To be precise, from 12 to 15 years.
Very precise.
They're very precise.
3 years.
I think it's less than 15 years, isn't it? So anyway, what happened, there was one brother, and he's one of the beautiful brothers, beautiful character that he has in him. I was, you could say, newly in the environment of Dawat Islami. I didn't really know what a responsibility is, or in our Urdu dialect we say zimadari. I didn't actually understand that really, or I didn't actually understand what I'm required to do. Moreover was that I love Dawat Islami. I really wanted to be part of it, as in whenever there's an activity, whenever there's a Madani Qafila, a spiritual retreat taking place in my locality, I would try to spend a bit of time. So you can say I became fan of Dawat Islami. And one of the brothers who used to attend that Madani Qafila, obviously he came to our local mosque, and then in the locality, we got used to it. And then once, that same brother, because we were familiar with each other, and I looked at him, and I'll still look at him as a means of inspiration. This brother, he was passing by the city. I feel that it was probably for a different reason that he came there, but he was passing by the city, and he gave me a call. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, how are you, Brother Tawfiq? You okay? Brother Tawfiq, I'm in your city, I thought I could come and see you. Where are you? And I mentioned I'm at a particular place. And it was near the masjid, which is a good sign as well, alhamdulillah. And literally we had 5-10 minutes talk. I was walking, he parked up, we came outside, we stood on a nearly a corner of the major road. We were standing there. This brother said something to me. First I was just listening to him, basically we just came to see each other. And he says, Brother Tawfiq, in your particular city where you live, if the work of Dawat Islami progresses, it's going to be because of you. It's going to be because of you, because of your efforts, and you will get the reward. In a way, it's bigging me up. I'm looking at it now. You're trying to inspire me, pump me up in that sense. Look, you need to take something on. And then suddenly, it took a U-turn. But if it doesn't progress, it's going to be because of you.
Allahu Akbar.
And that clicked. I thought, no way. I can't let it happen. Fair enough, if it doesn't move forward, if it doesn't progress, if it doesn't rise, that's another matter. But I don't want that to happen because of me. I can't let that happen. And that, I'm looking back now, a good 10, 15 years back, and that was a turning point for me. But what was it? It was that click. Yeah. And that particular brother, he always got a smile, he's actually sitting here.
Subhanallah, mashallah.
That was Brother Khalid. I don't know if he remembers that or not. Where was Brother Khalid? Who actually said those words. And I can still remember them.
The word of what you
And if I remember right, the way you told me at that time, you said when you came to Dawat Islami, someone actually said similar words to you as well. It's all matter of a click.
It's a matter of Tawfiq, of those that understand the purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
Those that understand the purpose, giving time to those that don't understand the purpose.
Yeah.
And if these people that do understand it give time to those that don't, then inshallah they will understand the purpose of life.
I think it's a bit more than understanding too. It's about knowing the importance.
Yes.
One thing is understanding it, and one thing is actually having that worry, that care about it. A lot of people understand they need to pray salah, they need to do such and such thing, but a lot of them don't consider it as important, or they don't give it much importance. They're not worried about it. MashaAllah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless Tawfiq Bhai even more. Tawfiq Bhai, he had that worry too, that if work's not done, it's going to be because of me. So, you know,
I
he was
think at that
worried.
moment, Khalid, but he kind of realized the purpose in his
No, the
life.
thing is,
and
you
it
see,
comes
what
down to
happens is it works on everything works with different ways with people. I remember, I'll give you an example of that happened with that I saw in front of me happening. That two brothers weren't reading the Fajr namaz. They were both saying, you know what, it's really hard to get up for Fajr. It's really hard to get up for Fajr. And so somebody said to him, look, I'll solve your problem. And he used the same psyche that was effectively used on you. He said to one of them, look, tomorrow it's your job to wake up this brother, all right? And you've got to make sure he wakes up. And if you don't wake him up, the sin of him missing Fajr is on your head.
Scared him a bit.
Or scared him, yeah? And he said to him, right, the next day it's your job to wake him up. You don't wake him up, you don't make sure he wakes up, the sin of him missing is on your head. Deal?
Khalid, this
And they
is,
both should come in, and within a week of them ringing each other, they were up before the phone call.
SubhanAllah, this is a brilliant technique, you know, this is something which I've experienced too, is when you ask somebody to do something, he says, oh no, you know, I can't do it. But when he's made responsible,
Yes.
when he's made responsible, then the rest is on him. So he thinks, oh, I have to do it.
Well, that's again another beautiful blessing of the Islam that Amir al-Sunnah has given us all responsibilities. If you just left us a free hand, then okay, we'll do it when we want to do it, we do it when we don't want to do it. But because he's set the setup that he's made, the structure that he's made, he's given us all these responsibilities, and because we have this sense of responsibility, then we go out and do something about it.
You know, if someone really wants to bring a change in his life, one thing that's key at the beginning, the initial stage, what I feel is that that individual, from the bottom of his heart, you know, he should have that will, that I actually want to change. Fair enough, he doesn't know how to bring the change in his life, but that will is important to give, you know, a serious thought on it. You know, with
You know,
pure
sometimes
heart,
think,
I want
that's
to bring a
fine. What
change.
you're
You
saying
know?
is correct, but what it is sometimes, right, they don't have that from day one.
No, they don't.